Isaac, West Virginia is an athletic program that's been troubled by stuff the fans can't control for the last few years. It has been a tough fan base to be a part of outside looking in. And now Darian DeVries being hired as the head coach to, in essence, replace Bob Huggins in what was a dumpster fire of an exit, to me is a huge step in not just the right direction, but a winning direction for a guy who was perennially at the NCAA tournament at Creighton as an assistant for 18 years, and then took Drake to unforeseen heights, going 150 and 55 in his tenure there. And it just is one of these guys that wins. And now he's in Morgantown, a place that knows hoops.
Drake, it was, we're right about a time of the 1 year anniversary of the Bob Huggins stuff just going wild. And who would have thought, right? That we would have gotten there. Now, the truth is, I think everyone's aware of this, but Josh Eilert was never intended to be the long-term plan for West Virginia. He was always a lame duck interim coach, essentially. And the plan all along was we're going to go get our guy. But it really felt like the plan was to try to go maybe poach another high major coach. I'm a poet and didn't know it. But Drake, I truly think yes, right. What's up? I really do love this hire for a multitude of reasons. I love going out and getting a successful mid-major coach over just bringing in an alum like a lot of schools are doing that doesn't have much coaching experience, if any at all. And so I think West Virginia's commitment to getting a basketball coach is key. I love, as you were just saying, the only two schools you mentioned were Creighton and West Virginia, Creighton and Drake. You know why, Drake? Because those are the only two schools he's ever coached at. Right. All those years of consistent longevity and commitment to those schools. 2001 to 2018 at Creighton as an assistant, both under Dana Altman and now McDermott. Thank you. His name came to me at the same time. And then the past 6 years at Drake. That's it. Those are his coaching stops. And as you said, his tenure at Drake has been phenomenal. Made the NCAA tournament 3 of those 6 years, even one of those as an at-large. Didn't even have to win the Missouri Valley one of those years, Drake. Great pedigree, and I love what he's bringing to West Virginia. Most critically, what I love that he's bringing to West Virginia is his son, Tucker.
Huge in the recruiting, on the recruiting side, the NIL side, the fact that he brought his son in, and it was just like at the press conference, we're not hiding anything here. We know exactly what's going to happen. This kid's going to West Virginia. Isaac, when it comes to, if I'm a Texas Tech fan listening to this, I check out. I don't care about the new West Virginia basketball coach. Why would other Big 12 fan bases, and maybe this goes back to, does this make the conference better? Should you care? Should you be scared about a name that you probably haven't heard of?
I think there's two different things there, Drake. You said, why should I care and why should I be scared? I should care because this is another great coach in my conference. You said Texas Tech. What's funny about that is that's the only other Big 12 school that brought in a new coach last year. Grant McCasland coming from North Texas. What a phenomenal hire for Texas Tech. So if you're a Red Raiders fan in Lubbock, I know that was just a random example you used, but it actually is a perfect example, Drake. Yeah. Because Texas Tech just did exactly what West Virginia has done. And we saw how well that worked out for Texas Tech this year, despite major injuries down the stretch, all sorts of stuff, because Grant McCasland is a heck of a basketball coach, and the exact same is true of Darian DeVries. And so that's why Texas Tech should care, but that's also why Texas Tech should be scared, because this is another high-level coach in the Big 12.
Do you see something with DeVries? And again, this goes back to something we asked about the BYU coaching search. There's always that cynical side. The question you ask of, can he do X? Why isn't he X? And for me, is this just another coach who came from a Stetson or a Northern Illinois or an Eastern Iowa that has won at a smaller rank, gets into the big leagues, spends 4 or 5 years coaching at West Virginia and bounces out, doesn't make it? I mean, what's the little knack that makes him different from somebody else who's succeeded at a mid-major level and gets a high major job?
It's because there's some longevity to it. Good. Drake, for me, like a lot of those coaches that you see, they did it 1 year and become a sexy tournament darling, and then let's go pluck them. Yep. With DeVries, I know it's just been 6 years at Drake, but that is a lot more than we see from a lot of those kind of guys. And then the pedigree that's been poured into him in those, almost 2 decades worth of assistant coaching at Creighton from a Dana Altman and a Greg McDermott. Man, that pedigree is great. And then clearly he's been able to do it on his own as well, right? And that's what we've seen. So in his 6 years at Drake, for example, only one of those 6 years has he been outside the top 2 in the regular season standings. That consistent success tells me that Daren's got everything he needs to survive in Morgantown.
What's interesting to me is the strength of names in this conference. Johnny Dawkins might be the worst basketball coach in the Big 12, and he's a guy who's had as much success as really anybody at UCF, and a guy like Wes Miller, who's got pedigree, was at the bottom of the league this last year and still almost made the NCAA tournament. Isaac, does this push some of those guys back down the list? I mean, if you are sitting in a chair where, man, we missed March, and in the Big 12, that's a big no-no, do you feel even more pressure when a hire like this comes in?
You have to. And so much of that, Drake, is the glut, the growing blob of all these major conferences, where as we get up to 16 teams now for next season, and I know we lose Oklahoma and I know we lose Texas, but you're bringing in also Tommy Lloyd, and you're bringing in not the Hurley, but a Hurley. and so there, like you said, this conference is chock-a-block full of names. And I think there's going to be, you're always going to have Bill Self at the top, and then a conglomerate around. You're always going to have Kelvin Sampson right up there at the top with him. And I think some of these names that we're talking about are going to float around from the middle to the bottom of the pack in a given year. And sometimes it's not even going to be about their coaching. Sometimes it's going to be what did or didn't happen in the transfer portal, who they were or weren't able to get because of NIL dollars at their own school and elsewhere. And that, frankly, is part of the landscape of our college athletics world now, is that it's not always going to be about the ability of the coach. Is sometimes it's just going to be, frankly, about roster makeup and what you can and can't get.
A la Jerome Tang missing the NCAA tournament after an Elite Eight appearance. It's a perfect point you make there, Isaac. Talking about guys that have...
We're in another world, Drake, right now. We're talking about Jerome Tang at Baylor if Scott Drew had left for Kentucky. And because he's a phenomenal basketball coach. And so you're going to have these one-offs. It's going to happen.
And Baylor fans would have been over the moon. To hire a guy that missed the NCAA tournament last year, they would have been over the moon. And, Kansas State fans, I think what the dumpster fire the administration was this season probably would have understood. Going into the guys you talk about, though, that have bounced around or been at a couple mid-majors for a year stint, Steve Lutz is one of those, but I don't know if he fits in that category. Let's see if you agree here on Locked On Big 12 and Locked On College Basketball. A little crossover edition, talking Big 12 hoops. Today's show is brought to you by Yahoo Finance. I'm 23 years old. I need someone to help me with my finances because I have no idea what I'm doing. Wouldn't it be great if you could see all your investment and retirement accounts right now in one place? Yahoo Finance, you can. So I have an investment account with Schwab, a 401k with Fidelity. I know, 23 and doing that's pretty awesome, right? At Yahoo Finance, I can consolidate all of those and see them in one place. For more than 25 years, Yahoo Finance has been the brand. It's been the most loyal to all of its users. And Yahoo Finance, to me, the best part, easy to use. Behind every great investor is Yahoo Finance. Securely link your brokerage accounts for a unified view of your wealth, including a 401k and other investments. Comprehensive perspective is what sets apart great investors. It's how Yahoo Finance ensures you have the insight to look at where your wealth is. For comprehensive financial news and analysis, visit the brand behind every great investor, yahoofinance.com. The number one financial destination, yahoofinance.com. That is yahoofinance.com.